Hi, my name is Josh Moran and welcome to the Financial Aid System of Tennessee. This video covers DEG manual verification and manual certification changes effective for the 25-26 academic year. There is a new batch verification and certification process available also this year, but for those processes, look at the batch certification and verification instructions for schools document in the help menu inside of FAST. And just FYI, this is the third video covering DEG updates inside of FAST. We have two prior videos, one covering the new DEG page and DEG eligibility updates for the new year, and one other video covering just the new concepts for DEG for this academic year. If you haven't watched those yet, it might be helpful to understand some of the items we'll talk about in this and later videos. And one other note, we do have other videos for end of term and new reports plan. They'll come out right after this. We're trying to split out the videos for these DEG updates into much shorter videos covering specific topics instead of doing one large video covering all the updates. We'll number them in the playlist in the order that we think that they should be watched. And also a note, all the content for these videos are also covered in the user guide. It should be available in the FAST System accordion in the help menu by the time this video is posted. So let's get into it and start talking about DEG verification. So if you previously performed verification for DEG, there's not really any major change to verification for 25-26 that you need to pick up. Other than being familiar with the updated columns on the verification roster, the rest of the process is the same. For those of you who are new to DEG, bless your hearts, but it's going to be okay. The way that I've always looked at verification is a way for colleges to filter students from appearing on their DEG certification roster. And this has proven especially useful for schools that split up dual enrollment between their admissions office and their financial aid office, or potentially their financial aid office and a high school programs office. And what DEG verification does is give a school a way to filter these students from their certification roster if, for example, they haven't been admitted or they failed to maintain the minimum dual enrollment grant GPA, or they failed to enroll at all at your college. And at this point, I'm going to add my usual message that I make in these videos about how verification can also be completed on the certification roster. They're essentially the same processes to each other. The same indicators that are on your verification roster also appear on your certification roster. And if you choose to do verification on your certification roster, that's going to prevent you from having to touch these students twice each semester. And if you're curious about that and want to get more details, see the require prior verification on the school profile section in the FAST user guide. Okay, to access the verification roster, you're going to click on Rosters and Dual Enrollment Verification. And don't be thrown off by the extra menu items that you see inside of FAST right now. I'm logged in as a TSAC employee, which gives me a lot more menu items than you'll have, and also the ability to access multiple schools' rosters. And I'm doing that to make it easier for me to skip back and forth between different school types and different rosters for the purposes of this video. Once you click on that menu item, you're going to bring up the dual enrollment verification parameter selection page. And what you're going to do here is select the academic year you're wanting to verify, your school, and for those of you working at a college, you won't have that drop down like I have. That's going to default to your institution and you're not going to be able to change that. Next, you'll have a term drop down to select the term you want to verify. And note, When that year becomes active, you're going to see all terms populated in that dropdown. If you select a term that's not available for verification, you're going to get a message that tells you this term's not available yet, and it'll also tell you the date that it had become active. So DEG also has two additional parameters that you don't see for other programs except for middle college scholarship. And what we have here are parameters for high school and application type. And what this does is give you the ability to filter the verification roster for particular high schools. Also, you can filter it for just your new or renewal students. And the reason we do this for dual enrollment and middle college scholarship, that we know that a lot of times at your college, data entry may be done for groups of students based upon particular high schools as information is submitted to your schools for those students. So we just add those extra filters on there. You can, however, just leave them as all for both high school and applicant type, and that's going to give you all your students for that particular term. Once you've got your parameters filled out, click on the verification roster, and I'm going to stop 1 second here just to mention there is, as I mentioned earlier, there is a batch process for both verification and certification. When we do the updates or finish them this weekend, you're only going to have access to the upload roster button. The download roster button. So you can download a verification or certification roster. We'll have the upload roster buttons on both the verification page and certification page disabled. That upload process for both verification and certification, we're still doing some testing on that. We do expect that it will be available before the end of next month. Knock on wood, but we're just completing some last-minute testing on those processes. So I'm going to click on verification, and this is going to display the roster for that particular term. And you'll notice on here that you should hopefully notice there's not a lot of big change. We just did clear up some of the columns that we didn't think were relevant anymore for verification, limited it to just things that we think you would need. And a lot of times for verification, these extra columns aren't necessary, but we know as well, just from past experience, some colleges will award DEG at the same time they're verifying them. So we wanted to put that information on there that may be relevant to your awarding process. We'll start over here with the verification indicator. And so you have 4 options available. Verified, you're going to use this when you verify that the student is eligible, they've been admitted, you expect them to be enrolled if they haven't been enrolled yet for the term. And this is the item that you're going to select that's going to move this student from your verification roster over to your certification roster. You also have the option for not admitted, and it's just for what it sounds like, a student that either has not applied or has not completed the admissions process at your college. Use this. That's going to make them ineligible to be paid this semester at your institution. We do have unsatisfactory progress on there, and probably some of you are wondering, wait, Josh, FAST is going to handle the GPA going forward. We did make a decision for this academic year only to keep unsatisfactory progress as an option on both the verification and certification roster. And the reason that we did this was if you have a student that lost eligibility for DEG at the end of the last academic year, you can submit the end of term information. And if you haven't heard about that yet, go to either the new concepts video or as well the end of term video. Should be the next video coming up. But we're leaving it on there so you can knock these students off your rosters without having to enter prior terms into term information, right? Let me just go over that again. So if you have a student who lost eligibility for dual enrollment prior to 25-26, you can submit their end of term, that's their quality points, quality hours for the prior year, or you can just simply certify them as unsatisfactory progress. So you can do either, but unsatisfactory progress is probably the easiest method just to get them off of either roster. And last, you have the option for not enrolled. That should be a student who completed the admissions process, but for whatever reason did not end up enrolling at your institution. Going over these columns, so we do have one total number paid all years at 2 and 4 year. So that would be the number prior to this term that the student has been paid overall. As far as number of courses for a 2 and 4 year institution. We do have it broken up as well for total paid 2 and 4 year only during this year. And it may not be as relevant as it was in past years, but we left this on there just in case it helps out, maybe catch some type of issue with the student. We have last DEG GPA, and this should display the prior term GPA. Again, FAST is handling that GPA going forward, but we left this on the roster. We did figure we had plenty of room. Just in case it may help you catch some issue with the student. This column over here, we have total clock hours. This would represent the total number of clock hours submitted for this student prior to this term. As well, we have DEG college GPA, and you'll notice this year this is no longer an updatable field. FAST is managing that GPA, so we do display it on the roster. Again, FAST should manage it, but we're displaying it just in case, and it helps you spot some issue with that student. To complete verification, all that you need to do is select the appropriate indicator on there, hit save, and if you're using verified, that student should now appear on your certification roster. If you use one of these other indicators, that's going to be the endpoint for that student for this semester. And depending on which indicator you used, it may or may not remove any future eligibility for that student. And that's only going to be the unsatisfactory progress indicator. The not admitted or not enrolled only impacts eligibility for that term. Easy peasy, right? Hopefully. But let us know if you have any questions. And FYI, we do get the DEG MCS Gaggle emails, so feel free to use that if you have any suggestions, questions on that type of thing. That way we can provide an answer for everyone else as well. Now let's get into certification. So the major change that you're going to notice from prior years if you certified DEG before is to remove the option to certify DEG for coursework taken at another school. So going forward, all schools will certify DEG only for coursework taken at their institution. This way it's going to allow us to go ahead and pay that institution directly, hopefully removing any issues with people having to trade checks back and forth between different institutions. Also, since FAST is now keeping track of the DEG GPA, users are no longer required to submit a GPA at certification. However, like the verification roster, we do display the most recent DEG GPA on the certification roster for reference. To access the DEG manual certification roster, you're going to go up to Rosters, Certification. You're going to select Dual Enrollment from the aid program drop-down, and I'll throw in another note here. You should only see programs that you have access to certify in this drop-down. I get Superman access here, and I can certify everything. But if you're missing something, or if you're seeing something you don't think you should have access to, talk to your supervisor and they can send an update to TSAC to correct that for you. I'm going to select dual enrollment for the aid program. I'm going to select my academic year. And like verification, I have access to everything, but the school options should be auto-populated with your institution. I'm then going to select the term that I want to certify. And like the verification roster, you also have filters for high school and application type, and they work the same way that they do on the verification roster. They'll filter out those students either by high school or the application type. They default to all, so you can use it, never update it, and always use the all option. But if there's some benefit from doing by particular high school or application type at your school, you do have that option. And one new thing, or one difference from the verification roster, we have added this additional filter for institution type. And what this does is give you the ability to filter the students appearing on your roster to all students who listed your school, or maybe you want only those students who you're the first school listed on the application, or only those students who you're the second school listed on the application, and so forth. I'm going to use the all option here. When I'm ready to go to the certification roster, I'll click this button as well. The same thing applies to verification regarding the upload button. So not expecting it to be available when you first access this, but we should have that functionality installed before the end of the month. Okay, so here's the certification roster. Should look fairly familiar to those who've gone through and certified students for dual enrollment before. You have the name, social, application type, the certification indicator. We'll go over those in a second. The total number of courses paid at a 2- and 4-year institution. The DEG from the last semester that they were certified for dual enrollment. The total clock hours that they've been certified for prior to this term. The DEG college GPA, just for reference only, it's non-updatable, but we're just putting it on there like the last DEG GPA for reference in case it alerts you to some issue on the student. The number of courses certifying this term, it's inactive now, but it'll become active once you select certain indicators, and the course number or clock hours certifying this term. So we'll go back over here to the certification indicator dropdown, and you'll have several options in here. Certified, you're going to use this to go through and pay a student for this term. That's a student who's been admitted, enrolled, has no issues with their GPA, and you're ready to pay them this semester. Ineligible, that's to be used for some or any student who's ineligible to be paid for this term for a reason not covered by another indicator. And those could be for various reasons. Maybe you find out that their grade level is incorrect for your institution type, or maybe you find out that actually they've graduated high school since they've applied and they're not eligible this term. Not enrolled speaks for itself. Unsatisfactory progress, like verification. We have it on here, but we expect it to go away at the end of this academic year. We've kept it on the certification roster just as an option. Like verification, you can go through and submit end of term information for a student, making them ineligible, but you're not required to do so. This way you can just not update any end of term on that student, certify them with unsatisfactory progress, and that's going to knock them off your roster. Appeal pending. So you're going to use that Usually for some situation that you're waiting either for an appeal or some other issue to be resolved in the semester and you don't expect it to be immediately resolved this term, um, you can just leave them on the roster and not certify them at all. But the benefit with using appeal pending is that it does satisfy your 80% requirement as far as certification progress is concerned. So great reason to use that one. Uh, Not admitted, same reason you'd use it on the verification roster. If you're not requiring verification, you can then update the student as not admitted from the certification roster. The same thing, just as a note, as I said early in verification, not enrolled and unsatisfactory progress are also here. Certified to override GPA likely will go away as well, and it may likely go away before the end of this term. Uh, it was one of those things we kept on the roster just in case, but further discussions as we've gotten to the release that we don't really know that it's relevant anymore as an indicator for dual enrollment going forward in the future. So let's talk about how or what you need to do to certify students for dual enrollment. Relatively easy now since we took away that institution column, but otherwise if you're going to ready to pay a student and you're a 2 or 4 year institution, you'll select the certified indicator. You can use this for reference, should appear on the other DEG reports and the batch files for packaging purposes, but here you know this student's been certified for 4 courses. DEG GPA managed by FAST, so it's not something you're going to update. You're going to select the number of courses that you're certifying at a 2 or 4 year institution. Currently it's set to 1. This value over here is telling you since this student has been previously certified for 4 courses, you're certifying for 1, you're now certifying for course number 5. And as far as the amount field is concerned, just a note, so what we populate here is what we expect is the default award amount for that course. Since those courses 5 through 10 are paid according to the number of credit hours, we're expecting most of them are 3 credit hours, so we populate 300, but in case it's a 6 credit hour course, for example, you can increase it to that larger amount. If y'all would prefer that we would populate something else, just let us know, but we were hoping that would cut down on the number of keystrokes that you would have to make. You would save this student. That would certify them for 1 course this term, which happened to be course number 5, for $300. If you want to pay them for more than 1 course, you're going to go to the drop-down, and you notice that we populate 1 through 6. Student can be certified potentially up to 10 courses a term, but since the students already been certified for 4, you can only pick up an additional 6 courses for this semester. Now I'm going to do 3 courses, and you'll notice that this column is updated to say course 5, 6, 7. It's just to help you with the word amount and to give you some reference there. If I save on this student, it's going to certify courses 5, 6, 7 for these amounts. Now, if I instead want to go through and use an ineligible indicator, they all work the same way, a lot simpler than certified. You're going to select ineligible. You'll notice that all of these things are grayed out, the amount as well. Since we can guess what those values are, we pre-populate them, lock them down so no mistakes are made just inadvertently. And all of these are going to work the same way as you go through and flip through them. You can use any of them for whatever is most appropriate for that student and save, and that's going to update them for this semester. Let's switch over and we'll do the same thing for a TCAT. So the roster is going to appear the same. you're going to have the same certification indicator dropdowns, but you'll notice here there's going to be a slight difference for a TCAT that's certifying a course. Instead of that course 5, 6, 7 like we saw in the other student, you're just going to see a drop down for course number or clock hours certifying. So TCATs don't use that same or that course 1 through 10 schedule like a 2 and 4 year institution. Your payment's going to be determined by the number of clock hours that term, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit in this video. But I'll go through there, specify a particular number of clock hours that term, and that's going to determine the maximum amount that I can certify that student for the clock hours I've submitted this semester. And just a note, if you're a TCAT, if I have a student that's in 3 TCAT courses this term, and let's assume that there are 100 clock hours each, I have 2 different ways that I can go through and certify it. Either way is not going to impact anything. I can do one course for a total of 300 hours, and that's going to give me the maximum amount I can certify this term. But you do have the option to split that up as well. For example, I can go in here and do 3 courses. Not absolutely necessary that you do so that way, but we give you the option to go through and do it either way. Maybe for your own record keeping in here, if you split it up by particular courses, you can go through and keep them separately inside of FAST, but as well, just keep in mind, this is perfectly fine for that same situation. And like the 2 and 4 year, the process is going to be the same for any TCAT. Just selecting an eligible reason that's appropriate to that student situation. All the other fields are going to auto-populate, be inactive, and you would just save that semester. Now let's jump over to the award rules just to go over how to determine the maximum amount that you can pay each semester. And usually there is a PDF in the help menu that's going to have these amounts populated. It's always useful to have that printed out, tacked up on a wall or taped to a desk. But you can also come to the award rules to determine how much you can pay that student for whatever course or courses they're enrolled that term. Over here in the 4-year institution and community college schedule, you can see that we have both the default award amount populated and the maximum award. Courses 1 through 4, those are the exact same. When you get down to courses 5 through 10, that's where you're going to see that difference. The reason why we have 2 columns, again, since most of them are in 3 credit hour courses, we know that there are some exceptions to that. That gives us the ability to populate 300, but since they are tied to the number of credit hours, maximum of 6 credit hours, this is where we specify the maximum amount for that course. For TCATs, you have a slightly different payment schedule. We have an hour range. The maximum amount that you can pay for that particular class that the student in is determined where the number of clock hours fall in that range, and this is what determines that. So if you have a 250 clock hour course, just know you'll come through, find where that course falls in this range, and that'll tell you the maximum amount that can be paid. But either TCAT or 2 and 4 year institution, just keep in mind that this is the maximum, but you can't pay more than that. But you always reduce the award to prevent a dual enrollment overpayment. So you can't pay more than that, but you can certainly reduce it whenever it's necessary. Now I'm going to jump back over to the certification roster, and we're going to talk about how to tell when you're unable to certify a student in a particular term, either because you need to wait for another school to certify first, or the student has outstanding end of term information. That's where missing grades haven't been yet submitted for a previous semester. And this is going to be the same for 2 and 4 year institutions or TCAT. Oh, selected the wrong school there. So on the certification roster, I didn't talk about this earlier, but you are going to run across some students who have prior school certification populated in the amount field. And you'll notice as well for those students, the certification indicator dropdown is inactive. You can't select a value. That's going to prevent you from certifying any of those students until all prior schools have certified first. All prior schools listed on the application before your institution certified first. And to help you out with that, what we've done is added a tooltip that you can access by hovering over the student's name. And the information displayed in there is going to tell you all the institutions a student listed on the application, along with their payment status, award amount for that institution, and they'll be listed out in the order that they have to certify that term. So I'm Austin P. in this situation. I see that I'm still waiting for this student for Middle Tennessee State University to certify. And that's just for reference. And we have a report also that you can print out. That'll be covered in another video, but we didn't want you to have to jump back over to the scholarship page to look at that, so you can view that information from this page. And that's how you're going to determine if the reason why you can't certify this term is because you need to wait for another school to certify first or before your institution. And there may be multiple schools, but you can tell that by hovering over the student's name. Next, let's talk about when you're not able to certify a student because there's still outstanding end of term information from a prior term. So I'm going to switch over. Let's go to volunteer state. And I'll go to the spring semester. So I have a student here. Trust me, they've been certified by Vol State for the fall term. They don't have end of term information submitted yet. That's the quality points and quality hours used to calculate dual enrollment GPA. If I go to the drop down here, what you're going to notice is that there's no certification indicator. I can certify this student with a non-payment reason, which is perfectly fine and a good thing to point out. If there's another school with outstanding quality points, quality hours, they haven't submitted yet, but you already know the student's not going to be paid for whatever reason this semester, you can certify them for non-payment. You don't have to wait for the other school to do end of term information. But if there's outstanding grades from a prior term, the certification or certified indicator will be missing from this dropdown. And that's how you're going to tell, oh, this student must have missing grades. You can go to that student's dual enrollment scholarship page, click on the GPA history button to see which ones are missing. We probably should add some type of information drop-down tooltip to display that here on the roster. It wasn't just something, we just didn't think about it until we started doing these videos. If you think that would be useful, let us know. Put something out on the Gaggle Mail or some other method. But that's how to tell the difference. So if a student's unable to be certified that term because you have to wait for another school, you're going to see that prior term or prior school certification message in the amount column. If you're unable to certify them this semester because of outstanding end of term information, that certified indicator is going to be missing from the certification indicator dropdown. Other than those two things, those are really the two major changes that you'll see on DEG certification, but hopefully it makes sense. It's not too bad. hopefully it's easy peasy. If not, let us know. If you have any questions on about any thing in this video, send us a message. We'll put either update the user guide, and we can also do a quick video to cover that. We always know if one person has a question on there, then probably that question is shared by multiple institutions. One thing that I will end the video on, one thing that you didn't see on my page, there is one thing that you'll have access to that I don't, and that is the Save and Pay button. Nothing has changed about that Save and Pay process. If you've previously certified any program, it works the same way on the new roster as well. I just don't have access. And for those people new to certification, when I refer to Save and Pay, there's an additional button that's displayed for college users. And the reason and how you would use that is this. Let's say, for example, that you have 100 students that you need to certify for dual enrollment. You can certify those students, 10 per page. Hopefully y'all can do 100 without issue. If you are having issues with that, let us know. But where that becomes useful is that while you're certifying those 100 students, you could do them in groups of 10, maybe do 50 today, and then finish the last 50 tomorrow. What the Save and Pay button does is you would use that once you finished all 100 students, and that notifies someone at TSAC that you're now ready for us to process your DEG payment. And we do it that way so in case it takes you multiple days, that way we're not sending you checks for 50 students on one day and a second check the next day for additional 50 students. This way you'll only get one check to cover all 100 students. Hopefully it makes it easier to track your ACHs and such coming out of Edison, but that's what that Save and Pay button does. And that's it for this video. I hope everything made sense, but let me know if you have any questions or if you would like to go over anything else in additional detail. I'll see you on the next video.